how having those financial fundamentals helped you in your next stage as being an agent.
One of the things that I bring to the table that's a huge value add for my clients and my lending partners, and as a result, I have a 100% close ratio.
Somehow just attract a lot more investor clients, and I'm able to talk about the numbers.
That one was more intentional. That's where we started doing like research, pulling numbers, looking at the market and the potential return and all of that. We built our own ecosystem of contractors, investor-friendly lenders, property managers, cleaners, the whole nine.
And in a world where 90% of agents are helping families and more of the emotional buyer, seller, and being an investor-focused agent, it's like, this is me, I've got the team, I've got the contractor, I've got the lender.
Where you can add value, determining what that is, and then how to articulate it. Attract, don't chase.
A mindset, a strategy, a tip, anything that you want to tell these agents.
Even for the seasoned agents, it's a good idea to go back and reevaluate your why.
Today we're sitting down with Shaletha Litt Colbert, an Atlanta-based realtor who's also an investor, not only in Atlanta, but Costa Rica, which we'll get into. And it's a story of resilience. It's a story of purpose. It's a story of being true to yourself. So I'm excited to have you, Shaletha.
Happy to be here.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Of course. Well, let's get started with you being a mortgage loan officer before becoming an agent. Tell me about making that leap, because I don't see that often.
Sure. Feels like a lifetime ago now, but my background was in banking. I started in banking in college as a teller. And after I graduated, I went into BB&T's leadership development program, the LDP, where I went through a 10-month training program. I had to move to their headquarters in Winston-Salem, and I was trained to be a branch manager and a loan officer.
Okay.
So we did really intense credit underwriting training, like understanding everything to do with that and how to write loans. And so while I didn't know the value of that at the time, I was 25 years old, I was excited to have the title of being a branch manager. But I really enjoyed the service aspect of it with my clients. I just didn't like all of the compliance and being confined to a branch. I more so enjoyed the sales aspect of things. And so I left banking to come back to Atlanta to start a sales role, and eventually became an investor myself. Got my license in real estate, more so to kind of support my own investments. And then through that experience, realized also that there was a need in the market for investor-friendly agents. And I wanted to fill that void and bring that experience with me from the financial background.
So tell me about how having those financial fundamentals helped you in your next stage as being an agent.
Sure. So it helped me tremendously because I quickly realized that most agents don't have that financial background. It's not a requirement to have bought your own home before you're helping other people do it.
Right.
And so they're missing some of that empathy and experience that I had from having been on both sides, having purchased multiple homes, but also having underwritten loans for other people to buy homes. And so one of the things that I bring to the table that's a huge value add for my clients and my lending partners is I don't just stand back. I don't just say, hey, do you have a pre-approval? Let's go. And we've got it under contract. I'll see y'all at the closing table, which is what a lot of agents do. And then they're at that closing table by themselves because they don't know that the loan fell apart. That's not me. From the very beginning, I set that expectation with my client and the lending partner. I liken myself to be the quarterback of my transactions, the Jalen Hurts in particular.
Yes.
So, he passes, but he's not afraid to run it in himself when he needs to. And that's kind of the approach that I take with all of my partners. But from a lending standpoint, I've jumped in to contest appraisals. I've jumped in to get insurance quotes, whatever it looks like where there's a need, even filling that gap with my clients who are new to this and maybe don't understand some of the lingo that lenders are using. I will be on the phone with them. It's a 3-way conference call, and I make sure my clients know from the beginning I'm their advocate for whatever like that looks like. If it's talking to the lender, if it's talking to the appraiser, or any portion of this transaction where you want support, I'm willing to be a part of that conversation. And so that's what I do. I set that tone, and I'm able to make sure that we stay on the same path and that we're working hand in hand with the lender to get to closing. And as a result, I have a 100% close ratio.
Wow.
I have never had a client who did not close because their loan failed. And we've had them be denied while we were under contract. And because of the approach that we take, I also make sure that they get a pre-approval from multiple different
Right.
lenders. That way we can just hand the baton to someone else who already has the background, has the contract, can pick it up. And if we got to use that unilateral, whatever that is, we're going to make sure
That
we get it
8-day
done.
unilateral.
I have used it. I'm not afraid to. It has helped us be able to close when the seller wasn't being agreeable. And I'm like, no, we just need more time. So I'm able to leverage that
Mhm.
background and understanding that a huge misconception that buyers have is that you just have to have good credit. And they
Yeah.
don't realize there's a lot of factors outside of their control
Right.
that could impact their ability to get approved. And so I'm filling the gap, letting them know that information and then working with that in mind to make sure we get to closing.
It's such an edge having been on the other side.
Yes.
And it's funny, like, there's just different phases in life. Like, I started as an investor as well, and my background's engineering, so I brought all those numbers
Yeah.
and, like, somehow just attract a lot more investor clients, and
There
I'm
you
able
go.
to talk about the numbers and, like, when a client's like, "Oh, I can't get a hold of my loan officer,"
Mhm.
I'm like, "All right, let's pull up the spreadsheet, let's talk about it." So,
Exactly.
it's all about having that edge or that niche of, hey, I'm bringing that from my background, and that's why I'm good at what I do
Mhm.
today. So I love that. And you mentioned you were an investor as well.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about, like, how you got started and what those early investments meant for you.
I was an unintentional investor, I'll admit. The traditional way that some people start, where you have a primary residence and then upgrade to another one and just keep the other one to rent it out.
Right.
So that's what happened. And essentially, we really thought
Mm.
it was a great property. It was located in a great area. We got bit by the Airbnb bug in 2020. That's what happened. We
Ooh.
put it on Airbnb, made a lot of money in a short period of time, and
Mm.
they didn't allow it in that building. So we also got some fines and things.
I
But
love
once
that.
we saw the potential income return, it was exciting. So from there, we reached out to an agent to say we want to buy an investment property.
Mm.
And so that's how we ended up getting our third property at that point. That one was more intentional. That's where we started doing like research, pulling numbers, looking at the market and the potential return and all of that. But even in that process and working with that agent, they're a great agent, nothing against them. They, at that point, were tending to work with more, people who are buying homes for primary residence.
Right.
And so I noticed, like there's some small repairs. Do you have a contractor you can refer? Or, we're doing a DSCR loan. That was our first
Mm.
time, doing one of those 20% down and kind of navigating
Right.
that. And so just going through that process and seeing this is quite different from
Mhm.
buying a property as a primary residence versus an investor. And that experience was valuable because I'm a huge fan of the DSCR loan
Right.
now, but I didn't know it existed. And just in the process of building our own portfolio, we realized that there's a lot of other resources and things that
Mhm.
investors need, and we had those same needs. And so we built our own ecosystem of contractors, investor friendly lenders, property managers, cleaners, the whole nine. And now that's value I can bring to my clients, not
Mhm.
just the experience, but also they can tap into my ecosystem and use those same resources. And that's what we do.
I love that. I remember my first realtor when I bought my first house, and I was trying to explain to her, she's an amazing realtor. I think, she's just a little bit more used to, like you mentioned, to owner occupant.
Hmm.
And I'm like talking about numbers, and I want a house hack, and I
Yeah.
want to rent one room and live in one room and
Yeah.
rent all the other rooms, and they're gonna pay me to live there. And
Oh, that's
like,
just going over their head. Like, that's
so
great. That's great. Let's close.
yeah. It's definitely, I think the riches are in the niches. And if you
Mm,
can set yourself up and apart from all the other agents, and in a world where 90% of agents are helping families and more of
hmm.
the emotional buyer,
Right.
seller, and being an
Yeah.
investor focused agent, it's like, yep, this is me. I've got the team, I've got the contractor, I've got the lender,
Yes. One stop
DSCR loans,
shop.
like we're ready to go. So it's it definitely helps to like build that ecosystem, like you
For sure.
mentioned, to set yourself apart and be able to attract the clients that you want to work with.
Hmm.
So I want to shift into the concept of betting on yourself.
Ooh.
And I was so inspired by your story, and I was like, I've got to have Shaletha on this podcast because if you're willing to share,
Sure.
I want to hear your story about how you overcame adversity
Mm,
and that big moment in your life, that big 6 month year, however long it was, where you were like, okay,
Mm.
I've got to get through this and I need to bet on myself and build the future version of myself.
I'm trying to think how far back to go because when you start talking about the adversity and however long, I'm like, it was since the beginning of my corporate career.
Yeah.
I'm an overachiever, and I follow directions. I take instruction well, but I'm also a person who goes above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't rewarded for me in corporate. That was my experience. And an example would be my last corporate job. When I say going above and beyond, I told them I was pregnant when they hired me. I disclosed that. I worked my butt off. I worked until I went into labor on a Monday. I worked until that Friday before.
Whoa.
I didn't take leave in advance. And then while I was on leave, I was still pinging my manager, like, hey, what's going on with my leads? Because I'm in sales. I just got to keep moving. I have goals. And it was a newer company. So I wasn't sure what the plan was going to be for my return. Are they still holding me accountable to these goals? And I just, had a whole human over here I'm trying to adjust to,
That's a
this new
lot.
life. And so I got nervous because I have like prospects reaching out to me and I'm like, nobody's contacted you.
Mm.
And so when I followed up, I realized that my pipeline was not being managed. And, pipeline cures everything. That's a sales thing that
No.
we know. And so I came back early from maternity leave. This was having my first child. And, those moments you should be able to cherish. I was a nursing
Yeah.
mom. It was a lot going on. And I came back weeks early from maternity leave just to show how dedicated I was,
Right.
how much of a team player I was, and how far I was willing to go to try to reach my goals. They fired me.
Whoa.
I came back, I think it was the end of November, and they fired me the first week of January. And
I
I'd
can't believe
never been
that.
fired from a job before. It was like having the carpet just snatched out from under you. I was the breadwinner at the time. I carried the benefits for the family, and I had a brand new 5-month-old. My dad was also nearing the end of a 6-year bout with dementia, where I'd been his caregiver as well. And so just knowing that my employer, knew these things, knew I was a new mom, knew I came back early, it really, really drove it home for me that, there's no loyalty in corporate. It just goes one way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was battling with, wanting to get back into corporate, wanting to, get another job. I have 3 degrees, like I invested in that MBA. And so
Right.
it felt like I need to have a corporate job.
Wow.
But that situation, it just did not sit well. So I, did some interviewing, but I already had my license at the time. And I really wanted to, just pursue real estate. It was kind of scary because the income's not guaranteed. But what did it for me was when my dad passed a few weeks after I got laid off, we went to Costa Rica. My husband, my now 6-month-old, and my mom, we were deep in our mourning, over my dad's passing. But as we were talking through that, one of the things that really stood out was just the tragedy of him having done the corporate route, worked for the government. He was a former military, former postal worker, and he did his years. And when he retired, his gift was dementia. I mean, literally within 2 to 3 years of him retiring,
Wow.
in his early 60s. And it was like, it was a reminder that that future is not promised, that you make all these sacrifices to hopefully make it to that future, but you may not have your health or, your mind may not be, what it was to be able to enjoy that, all of that sacrifice. And so we made a decision that we weren't going to take that risk. We were going to honor my dad's legacy by taking the bigger risk of betting on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that looked like was twofold. We decided to purchase property in Costa Rica. We were there for a 2-week trip. And we were like, we've got some insurance, money from his passing. We have severance from the job that I left. My mom was willing to sell one of her properties in Florida. She's an investor as well.
Okay.
And we made it happen. That was a big risk. That was just, we got that push from, my dad's experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the other was, I'm not going back to corporate. I'm not going to give anyone an opportunity to snatch the rug out from under me again like that and have all of my eggs in that one basket. So my husband and I had a long conversation over, a period of time where I was like, okay, give me 2 years. I think I have enough savings. We can be frugal with some things. We share a car. We were making all kinds of choices of things to like cut back on to make that money we had saved up last, leaning on the
Yeah.
properties we did have. And then it's like, how do I replace my income? So I went into real estate full time as an agent. When we left Costa Rica, we were under contract on 2 rental properties there. Came back later, a few months later, closed on those. The following year, we purchased 3 more properties.
Wow.
Here in Atlanta. And so this is how we're replacing income by buying these rental properties and me selling real estate. And so haven't looked back. It has been the journey of a lifetime. I have no
Mm-hmm.
regrets. And all I can think about some days is how I could have been sitting in an office somewhere, you know, or laid off again, or, you know, what life could have looked like if we hadn't have taken those risks, because it's been a beautiful journey.
Wow. That is like such a powerful story. There's like
Thanks.
so much there that I want to unpack. It's like I can relate so much to like so many people have these jobs, and right now we're seeing it like Microsoft, Apple, just
Yes.
massive layoffs are happening in the corporate
Government
world.
jobs. Those used to
Government
be
jobs.
guaranteed.
Yeah, the government is shut down right now.
Yeah.
It's uncertain times for a lot of people,
Hmm.
and when you can leverage those opportunities, no matter how sad, how angry you might be
Hmm.
on like, wow, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
But if you can twist that and turn it as an opportunity to like, hey, I'm gonna get through this and I'm
Yeah.
gonna bet on myself and build myself up and I'm gonna create the life that I want. So no one's telling me what to do. There's
Hmm.
no boss that's like, nope, you're out of here. It's
Yes.
yeah, that's what life's about. Life's too short not to chase your dreams
Yeah.
and overcome that. So kudos to you
Thank you. We
for
celebrated last month. I hit my number where I've officially replaced my income I was making in corporate. Yeah,
nice.
it took a little longer than 2 years, but as far as from real estate sales, and that's what goal that I had in mind.
You know
And
what they call that? They call that financial freedom.
yes, yes,
what's
yes.
what's the financial freedom number? I
It's
love that because I track that as well. And it's like, sometimes it keeps moving up because
Right. The
you've got a
needs
family
change.
now. I don't have a
Exactly.
family yet, but I know when that family's coming, that financial freedom number is gonna
We
keep
have six
going up.
mortgages.
But yeah.
So that's people see the houses like, but do you see these mortgage payments? Utilities are in our name. We're furnishing
Yeah.
these properties. We got to pay taxes. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that, where we started 3 years ago versus now, the income's gone up, but so have the expenses.
Right.
We have more to lose.
But I view it as good debt. And it's
Yes.
like it's betting on yourself and
Mhm.
you've got control over it. No other company or entity it's like it's up to you to make it successful.
Yep.
So wow. It's kudos to you
Thank you.
for being a new mom, for handling your dad and being that caretaker, having to lose your father and getting fired on top of all that, like
Hmm.
that's super heavy. So not
Yeah.
everyone can come out of that as strong as you have.
I was
So
spinning. I really was. My kudos to my husband for trusting me, trusting the process, because initially it was like, just find another job. And it's like, but what if this happens again?
yeah.
So he was down. He was very supportive because, being an agent, you can't just sit in the house and sell real
Mhm.
estate. And like I said, I was a nursing mom. So he's battling with our toddler, when he was only a few months old,
Right.
trying to feed him bottles and stuff like that since he worked from home. So he filled the
Mhm.
gap as well. So that was a big help on this journey for me to be able to move into that space and be an agent full time.
Shout out to you, Brandon.
Yes, shout out to you, babe. A real one.
So most of our audience are agents that,
Okay.
on any kind of level. So what would you say to our listeners,
Mhm.
to the Atlanta agents out there that maybe are a little bit scared or overcome by
Mm.
fear? What would you tell them on taking the leap like you have?
Um, I think we have to deal in reality is one thing, and being an agent can feel expensive. You've got, brokerage fees. You have
Mhm.
clients who maybe want you to pay for listing pictures or marketing or the gas to go, show somebody 20 homes. I
Yeah.
think being realistic about where you are, taking advantage of the opportunities to set yourself apart, to
Mhm.
meet people that are potential buyers or sellers. I'm trying to think of something that's more like an action item because I like for people to be able to take action on
Right.
things. Um, Finding your niche, for one.
Yes.
That really helped me. I didn't want to be everything to every client. And my experience was in real estate as an
Mhm.
investor. And I think, honing in on that and pulling that value and putting it to the front when I'm talking to clients and going, pursuing opportunities. So finding what it is that you're passionate about, where you can add value. I would say that's
Yes.
the biggest one. Where you can add value, determining what that is, and then how to articulate it.
Mhm.
So then you've established that you have value in this certain aspect. Now you know how to tell people the value that you bring. And then the biggest part is actually acting on that, bringing that value to the table. So for me as an investor, it's sharing my experience, maybe success stories or whatever, like the highlights, the things people
Right.
want to hear, and helping them to see like this can be you too, this can be your story too, and then taking them down that path. Like
Mhm.
now I'm helping you achieve this same thing,
Right.
and adding value in that way. I think that's the biggest thing you can do now, and then tapping into your creative bag because there's so many ways to sell real estate, and so sometimes people see these things on the social media, and they're like, I gotta have a luxury car. I drive a Honda
Yeah.
Accord. It is paid off. I am proud of that thing.
I don't have a
um,
car. I'm like borrowing my
right.
wife's car. So
Or some people think it has to be luxury and you've got to dress a certain way. I
yeah.
wear Tims and t-shirts
Right.
because that's my niche. I don't want to show up in a suit to show a house with holes in the floor. Now I look
Right.
silly. So finding out what works for you and not being afraid to lean into that, and understanding you want to do business with people who want to do business with you, not the other
Mhm.
way around where you're chasing it. Attract, don't chase.
Mhm.
And so that is showing up as your authentic self and standing in the value that you bring, and it will come.
Yeah, being true to yourself is so big
Hmm.
because it's like trying to be someone that you're not.
Oh my gosh.
It's never going to take you where you want to be
And it's
because
exhausting.
when the challenges come, when it's hard to like keep going,
Hmm.
you're following back on someone else's dream versus your own
Exactly.
dream. So you got to figure out who you are, your value, your why. And I
Hmm.
think that's going to, pull you through the challenging times or,
For sure.
the times where the conditions aren't perfect. So let's shift into what sets you apart and some agent advice. You've built your business 100% on relationships.
Hmm.
On our call, you mentioned, I haven't spent any money on paid ads,
Yeah.
marketing. Tell me about that and what's made that so effective for you.
I'll be honest, because I did not have income from a W-2 job. I had to be frugal and I had to make it work. So for me, paying for ads just was not something I could do, or paying for leads was not something I could do. I took a more organic approach of making sure my network knew that I was an agent. That's something that a lot of new agents skip.
Hmm.
Everybody should know what it is that you do. I
Mm,
mean, find a way to do that shameless plug at every networking event, every family event, on your social media, whatever that looks
yes.
like. Put that shameless plug out there because that's how you make your living. Don't be afraid to do that. And when I say like being creative, for me, it's things like, people, oh, you got a stage. Staging is $3,000. I found out about virtual staging. I've got a photographer that can do it. It's maybe $150,
Mm,
like things like that. So finding a way to still get the same end result, but doing it a different way. One of the things I was going to do a reel about that I've started doing is we're in a buyer's market right now, and
hmm.
a lot of them are unrepresented after this NAR lawsuit that's
Right.
questioning the value that agents bring. People are skeptical and they're kind of starting the journey by themselves sometimes. So all of my listings, I have QR code stickers on the for sale signs because buyers are out by themselves. They can't
Yes.
access the home by themselves. They can just scan that QR code and now they can see the inside of the house. They can see all the stats and everything and how to get in touch with me. That's just a small, and the stickers are inexpensive, but
You're right.
that's something that, understanding the market and where we are right now, people are self representing. So, how do you reach them when they
Hmm.
don't have access to the MLS? And not everybody trusts Zillow or shops on there. People are driving around their neighborhoods
Right.
and driving around looking at houses. What can I do to try to make sure I'm promoting my listings and making sure that we're getting eyes on my
Hmm.
clients' properties? So things like that, just finding out what works for you, being a student of the game,
Mm,
constantly trying to learn, attending these trainings and these meetings and stuff like that to get stats
yes.
that you can now use in conversation. There's just so many things that someone can do to try to make sure they're bringing that value.
Right. Let's talk about virtual assistants. You mentioned that you've been through a few VAs, and now
Hmm.
you've got, is it two virtual
I do have
assistants
two
part
now.
of your
Hmm.
team? What do they do? What are their roles in the world of agents? It's all the buzz in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And how did you find them?
So I went through a couple. I went through some different websites that are out there to try to find people. And some of them just they didn't work out. And one of the things I will say, you get what you pay for. And
Mm,
being that I was on a budget, I couldn't afford an American
right.
virtual assistant or assistant, period, because the American rates were just a lot higher than I could afford at
Absolutely.
the time. And so I knew that I was going to have to look outside the US. And I'm a military brat. I, am very cultured from that standpoint. And so it wasn't intimidating to me. I just knew that the person I hired may be on a learning curve. And it was
Mm,
quickly determining, while this person may need to learn some things, what is their character?
yeah.
Do they take initiative? Are they willing to learn? And so that's what I was trying to get to quickly. Every time I had a new assistant, if there was things that I asked them to do, like, are they resourceful? Are they trying to figure this out? Or are they just an order taker?
Hmm.
And so I had a few order takers. And when I got serious about it, coincidentally, one of my investor clients has an assistant, and we just got on the conversation. I was like, I just had to let another one go, and I'm having to do my own
Yeah.
offers again, and do my own listings. And she told me that there was a guy that she partnered with out in California, where she's from, that
Okay.
hires people. He works in HR for his W-2 job, and
Mm,
on the side, he's a headhunter. And so she introduced me to him, and I told him, like, I just laid it all out. Like, I've been through like 4 assistants, and this is what I'm trying to do. He really heard me. We went through his process, and he wasn't the cheapest, but it was a one-time fee. And he came back with a few candidates, and we interviewed them. My husband actually chose the assistant that we have now, and we just celebrated a year with her maybe 2 weeks ago.
wow.
We've been working with her for a year. She's all things to us. Like, she's my
Mm,
executive assistant, so she does my listings. She does my offers. Some communication with either my clients or the attorneys or the different parties involved in the transaction, because she empowers me to be out and about.
hmm.
My second hire was from a marketing content standpoint,
Okay.
and that was the one that was a struggle, especially with
Yeah.
hiring outside the
Well,
country.
different culture, right?
Yes, the
Different
cultural
standards.
nuances,
Yeah.
how I speak, and it's important to me to be authentic. I
Hmm.
don't want people to be like, "Oh, that post was by Shaletha, and that one was by her marketing person," or "That's AI." I can tell. And I
Right.
spent a lot of time trying to, learn AI and figure out how to do commands where it can learn my tone, and then shared that with my assistant. Like, you have to describe me, who I
Hmm.
am as a person, how I talk, my background, my ethnicity, my age, all of these demographics about me, so that you can help the AI be able to understand my tone, and then they can create captions and things of that nature. And so it was an investment of time with that person. But it worked out really well. Like, and that was probably my third content person too.
Wow.
And so we've been with her since June, and she's just nailed it. She's from the Philippines.
Mm.
Shout out to her. She's even growing her team. She's reading about patents and trademarks and stuff.
Wow.
She's helped me build my funnels, my ebooks. She's redrafted them and got them selling for me. And then my main assistant, my executive assistant, is in Nigeria.
Wow.
And we just, they're hours different. One is 12 hours different. The other's like 8 hours ahead. But we figure it out, and we treat them like family. We treat them with
Yeah.
respect. We pay them well. We praise them, but I do challenge them to take initiative, to be resourceful.
Hmm.
And it feels like being a manager a little bit. And I think that's the part that maybe some people aren't comfortable with, that,
Yeah.
especially if you're hiring from outside the country, there's a ramp up period, and there's an investment while they're getting to know you and what your expectations are. You have to manage expectations, and then
Right.
you have to learn to inspect what you expect. So if she's doing a listing, I need to go back and look at it because she's learning. I need to make sure it's correct,
Right.
so that my clients don't have a negative experience while we're onboarding somebody. And so it's been awesome now having them in place, but it was work.
Right.
And it's a little awkward sometimes giving feedback that may
Hmm.
not be positive when somebody's trying their best. And so it's something I make a very active effort to do
Right.
appropriately. I'll even ask AI, like, this is what I want to say. Can you say this with more empathy? And so that this
Right.
person doesn't feel discouraged. I take it to that level to make sure that I'm communicating with them in a way
Amazing.
that they feel valued and appreciated, and it's not condescending.
Virtual assistants are like the hack for growing
Yes.
realtors.
Yes.
It's, in business, you either have time or money. And when
Hmm.
you start to get to the point where, all right,
Yeah.
I've got to leverage other people's
Time.
time because I only have such limited time
Exactly.
in one day. It's like, well, I might not be at the step where I can pay
Yeah.
someone $75,000 here in Atlanta,
Whoa.
but as hiring a virtual assistant,
Hmm.
I feel like it's a win-win.
A
And
hack
they
for
work so
somebody
hard.
may be finding a newer agent and they're wanting to learn how to do listings. They want to learn how to do um, offers and draft the different contracts. Maybe, somebody as a mentor, like offering to be a mentor, that's a way to kind of outsource it if you don't have a lot of money. Or finding someone who's a recent grad that's looking for an internship
Mhm.
and offering an exchange of value that's non monetary.
Yeah.
With one of our assistants, one of the things that we did was we offered for them to be able to have use of our Airbnbs. That they were
Oh,
local, and I'm like,
really?
I can't pay you a
Cool.
lot of money, but I can give you internship credit, and you can stay at any of the Airbnbs that you like. We just need a notice for it, but finding ways that were non-monetary to add
That's so
value,
smart.
maybe something somebody can utilize to kind of start building that team out, so you're not paying a whole lot of money when you're not making it yet.
Mhm. We, um, we just celebrated, I believe, 4 years with our virtual assistant.
That's
Shout
a
out to you,
feat.
Karen.
That is a
Yeah.
feat.
Extremely loyal, and, it's still a feat 1 full
Yeah.
year with yours. Like, I wanna hear, what would you say to the agent out there that's maybe a little bit discouraged, has gone through a few virtual assistants,
Mhm.
or even just hires locally and they haven't found the right fit? Going through that process and learning who was best for your
Mhm.
business, what are some of those non-negotiables that you found for your current hires?
I would say leverage your network because if
Mhm.
you know other agents who are successful, they have an assistant.
Right.
They've been through some assistants and they found that assistant some way, making it known what you're looking for. So what
Mhm.
I did was I put ads on Facebook. I did put ads on Upwork and Fiverr and places like that. I let it be known so that people could recommend. And so that's how my investor client, ended up contacting me like, "Oh, you're looking to hire somebody? I've got 3 assistants I've hired through this guy,
There you
and it has
go.
been amazing, and it worked." So don't stop pursuing that. If it's a need that you need to fill, keep working till you fill it.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to go through a few people and don't be afraid to cut ties and move on.
Mhm.
I think I'm a relationship person. I'm a Cancer. I have a lot of empathy. It doesn't feel good to let people go, especially when you know
Yeah.
they're trying. And it doesn't feel good to start over either. And it was necessary because I'm also a realist and I'm like, we're losing money and we're losing time. Once you identify
Mhm.
it's not working, just cut ties and move on. Don't stick it out because of what you've already invested. You're losing while you're once you've identified that it needs to terminate, you're losing more time and resources continuing to invest in that person. So be decisive and
Mhm.
do what is best for your business and keep searching till you find the one because there are people out there who exist.
Yeah.
And I'm training my VA to be able to train others because I'm investing in her in a way where she's watching me create these funnels and these ebooks and I'm like, you can do this for yourself. You don't have to just, empower me, you can empower yourself. So she's
Right.
learning how to write an ebook and I'm like, do one about how to be an amazing executive assistant to real estate agents because we need them. And
Yeah.
so she's working on her own
Ah,
e-products and
I love
consultations.
that.
And, that's a way that I'm able to give back and help her invest in herself and increase her income. And so if y'all are looking for an assistant, my agent, my assistant may be, have somebody that she can train for you.
I love that. I'm part of this mastermind, Go Abundance. It's an
Okay.
entrepreneurial mastermind. And one thing that they say and the concept that they follow is, you want to build a big enough bubble
Mm,
so that the employees and the people that you bring on
mm,
also have the ability to like have a big enough bubble. As soon as like
yeah.
their bubble becomes bigger than yours or there's a mismatch there, that's
Hmm.
when you start to have turnover when they leave you.
Right.
So like having employees is not about, oh, I'm your boss. It's
Right.
about giving them the opportunity to live the life and, work the
Hmm.
job that they want and achieve their dreams as well. So it's amazing to
Absolutely.
hear that you're doing that.
Absolutely. My marketing assistant just hired somebody to her team. And I do reach out. I ask her, like, are there any tools or systems that you need that you don't have access to? Because I'm willing to pay for those things.
Mm,
So she's got subscriptions to, some things that she can use with other clients as well. But it's an investment in my business and an investment in her.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's the best investment you can make is in yourself and your people.
That's what I love about what you're doing. It's like you've figured out how to use leverage, whether it's with the VAs or with the investments that you've made to like take things to the next level and like build your business how you want. So
Yeah.
something that we preach a lot with our team and through our masterminds
Mhm.
as well. It's like it's leveraging the time you have, leveraging the people and the skills around
Mhm.
you, and then building wealth through real estate because
Yes.
real estate, I mean, it's you look around and it's really how to take your family to the next level. And
Yeah.
I preach it all the time talking to my investor clients. It's like keep buying houses. My
Yes.
concept is never to sell a house, you know. You were talking about, all right, this is your primary residence. Well, let me
Mhm.
move out and let me make that an investment and go to the next. And like
Yes.
so it's the way to do it. It's
Yeah.
powerful. Everyone's talking about investing overseas right now, investing internationally. I've got to ask, why Costa Rica? Tell me about that and how you got into investing and buying investment properties in Costa Rica.
Sure. So that was definitely a big part of our journey. And for us, it was spurred in part by the experience of my dad passing and just wanting to live life with a sense of urgency and like take those risks to do the things that we want to do on our
Mhm.
time. And we started. I'll go back a little bit. COVID was one of the things for us that kind of moved us into the mindset of being open to investing outside the U.S. And it was because my husband and I couldn't agree on what we wanted to watch.
Mm.
When we were both working from home and we're very clingy. So we wanted to be in the same space, sitting on the couch on our laptops with something on TV in the background. I didn't want to watch the news or sports. He didn't want to watch snapped marathons all day. And so HGTV was our happy medium. And it was just on all day, like it's in the doctor's offices and stuff. And I guess it was osmosis because eventually we just started paying attention, like, oh, wait, they paid how much for that house? And it's a beachfront house. We were watching shows like Caribbean Life, Life Abroad, Beachfront Bargains, International House Hunters, and eventually we just started to notice.
Mm.
Some of the couple's stories would resonate with us on different things, like, oh, they're like us, or they, their income is around ours, or that's a budget that's not, that's reasonable, and started paying attention. And so then we made a list of places that we wanted to visit and kind of do more research. We went to Jamaica, Dominican Republic, a few different parts of Mexico. I went to Panama. Costa Rica was on our list because we had heard that a lot of North Americans, Canada, US,
Mm.
Mexico, are able to acclimate there easily. But I think for us, there was just already a lot of turmoil starting in the US during COVID, politics, economy, all of those things, and just unrest. And one of the things that appealed to us was that Costa Rica is neutral.
Mm.
They don't even have an army. They want no war with anyone. They just want to be the world's paradise. And I'm like, that sounds appealing. And so,
Yeah.
there's a term that they say that's like their term that they use in the country for everything. It's like their version of Hakuna Matata.
Yeah.
It's pura vida.
Pura
Pura
vida.
vida. And it
Yes.
means
I
pure
love
life.
that.
And I mean, it's a greeting, it's a thank you, it's an expression of thanks. It's
Mm.
a, no worries. And that's the feeling. That's the energy of the country. And so coincidentally, when we made our trip there, it was 2 days after my dad had passed. And I think there's nowhere else we could have been or should have been than where we
Yeah.
were at that time while we were going through that. And we were just at peace and we were like, this can be our life. Like, is there a possibility that living here and being here? My mom was with us, she's in her 70s. We had a
Mm.
6-month old at the time. It just felt right. And so we started doing more research. English is a very close second language. Most people speak English there. We don't speak Spanish. And we were like, if we can do it, if it flows, it goes. That was what
Right.
we kept saying. If it flows, it goes. And so every step of the way, things were just happening with ease,
Mm.
and we were there for a 2-week vacation and left under contract on 2 condos. And we were just like, are we doing this? We have moments where we'd like, be talking about something else. And then we look at each other like, are we doing this? Like we're buying 2 properties in Costa Rica. I cannot believe this is happening. And then we closed on them and it was like, now we're unstoppable. Now we're looking at other countries and doing more real estate in Costa
Yeah.
Rica.
So walk me through like the moment today. It is so you have the two properties in
Mhm.
Costa Rica, right?
Ocean view, top floor penthouse. One's a one bed, one bath with a huge terrace. The other's a 4 bedroom, 3 bath with a large terrace. And I didn't think we could own something like that. Not in my lifetime. We're not
Yeah.
millionaires, like we're not making all of this money. We made strategic decisions, but the real estate there is more
Mm.
affordable. And it just like we cashed in what we had. I broke over my little piggy bank from my severance and stuff. And yeah, didn't look back. And they're investment properties. We rent them on Airbnb. They photograph beautifully. Now we have a co-hosting team there in Costa Rica. So
Okay.
we've built our resources there. We've done a renovation. So now I've got experience of working
Whoa.
with contractors in Costa
That's
Rica.
cool.
And then I did my certification to be a certified international property specialist there as well.
Okay.
So I'm connected with the real estate agents in that
Mm.
market, and I think that may end up being the second leg of my journey. I may start doing real estate in Costa Rica
Okay.
eventually.
Well, I know who to go to now.
I want to sell paradise.
I love that. I want to be conscious of your time. We're sort of coming to a close here, but I want to ask a question that we ask all of our guests. This is the Atlanta Agent Playbook
Okay.
podcast. So we put together plays from all the top producing agents. And my goal is to take all those plays and provide it to my brokerage of agents. And these are the plays that all the successful agents in Atlanta are following. So, what is one play that you want to add to that playbook? A mindset, a strategy, a tip of, anything that you want to tell these agents that have made you successful? What's that one thing for you? What's that play?
First of all, I'm still sitting with being considered a top agent because it's so, it just feels like yesterday where there was the uncertainty of getting started. Can I really do this? I know it sounds cliche, but a strong why. Because that has carried me through the times of uncertainty, the contracts terming, the losing clients, like all
Yeah.
the things that can just be crushing, especially when you've worked so hard. My why, I'm not going back to corporate. That's a very strong why. I
Fear
got
can be
6
a strong
mortgages.
why.
That's a strong why. I have to keep going. And I think if they haven't done this already, sit down and actually think through what is the reason you're pursuing this. And maybe in that you may make a decision it's not for you, or maybe it will reignite, and reaffirm your decision that this is what you want to do. But I think starting there, and it's even for the seasoned agents, it's a good idea to go back and reevaluate your why.
Mhm.
It may have changed. There may be we've got some new things that have occurred. I have a baby and everything, and current economic times have, caused changes in how we approach things. So going and really taking a deep dive into what is your reason?
Mm.
What does that look like? And then as a result of you achieving this, what is going to happen? Because I think also sometimes we have an idea of, I want to do this, but then you can't envision what it looks like.
Yeah.
What do you as a successful agent look like? What does your day look like? What do your interactions with your clients look like? How much business is successful for you? Having those metrics and being able to visualize that, if you can see yourself doing it, you can actually do it.
Mm.
And I think sometimes we stop too short on the why. I want to be an agent. I want to change lives. I want to make money. I want to sell houses. But how many houses, or what does it look like to be happy? How much money you want to make, all of those things, having some definitive goals and a strong why so that when you get hit, because it's going to happen.
Mhm.
There's so much uncertainty in real estate, but you can refocus on, yeah, that happened, but I have to achieve this because this is what's going to happen when I do. And I wholeheartedly believe that, and staying focused on that. And it kind of clears some of the noise. It's what makes you be self accountable because as an agent, we're independent contractors. We don't have a manager that's like, you got to make your dials today. You got to door knock today. You got to go host some open houses so you can find buyers. You have to dig deep and find that within yourself. Nobody is making you get up and go be an agent every
Mhm.
day. And that's where that why comes in. Like, I'm getting up and I'm doing this because this is what the result of this is going to be. And so I would say have a strong why and look back on it, visit it as many times as you need to, put it on a vision board, make it your background on your
Yes.
phone, whatever it is that's going to prompt you, because those hard days are going to come. I can't tell you how many times where I got scared. Like I just told my whole family, y'all got to bank on me to replace my income through this. And I don't know, like I would be on LinkedIn, applying for jobs again occasionally over the last couple of years because that fear would creep in. And then also my stomach would start turning on the thought of going back to corporate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can do this. There's people who have done more with less. I have a lot of experience. I can do this.
Absolutely.
Believing in yourself and believing that your why is achievable.
It's so funny. You bring this up like it's a concept that I love. And like through our onboarding process at our brokerage for our agents, it's like one of the number one questions we ask, like, what is your why? Why are you doing this? Why do you want to be an agent? Because a lot of agents that get into it and are thinking, oh, I'm just going to open a door and collect the paycheck. Like,
I'm going to do a photo shoot.
That,
and I'm going to be the top agent in Atlanta.
That why is not strong enough to pull you through because there are so many curveballs and life as an agent is so much tougher, emotional, taxing, mentally taxing. So you heard it here. Figure out your why.
Yes.
Shaletha, thank you so much for the inspiring story, for your time here with us today. I appreciate you. And
appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for being on the show. Where can people hear about you or connect with you moving forward?
So I'm on all of the socials, but I'm most active on Instagram at Real Estate is Lit. My maiden name is Lit, Litt.
I love
and
that.
My theme is Real Estate is Lit. I'm shining a light on it. Real estate is exciting, like all the things that Lit embodies, besides just my last name.
Such a great play on words.
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Shaletha Litt Colbert. I have a group on Facebook, Real Estate is Lit. It's a group for investors, so they can get in there and meet others, my clients and stuff like that, and be able to, just utilize those resources, have that community. And I'm on TikTok, don't really use it, and I'm experimenting with threads.
Nice. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Atlanta Agent Playbook. Thank you so much for being on as we dug into the mindset, the strategies, and everything that it takes to make Atlanta's agents successful. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.